What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another deck profile. And today I have Spellbook Dogmatica. This was not the deck I had originally planned. In fact, last week I had planned a different deck profile, but that didn't get, or I haven't gotten all the cards in for that one yet, and I'm still waiting for that. So, this deck, everything came in for it first, and I'm going to do the deck profile for it, since obviously it's already all built. And like I said, it's Spellbook Dogmatica. And let's get right on into this. Starting us off with the Spellbook monsters. The only Spellbook monster I'm actually playing is Blue Boy, Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. What does he do? If he's normal summoned or flipped face up, he adds a Spellbook card from your deck to your, or Spellbook spell card from your deck to your hand. Just super good. He's 3 additional copies of any of your Spellbook spells in your deck. So there's that, and that's it for the spellbook monsters that I'm playing. Now we get into the actual spell books. Starting us off with 3 copies of Secrets. Secrets is basically just Blue Boy. You add or you activate it. You add a spellbook from your deck to your hand. So Secrets can grab Blue Boy since Blue Boy is a spellbook card, and Secrets can grab any spellbook card. So it's also an additional 3 copies of anything else, which basically means you have 6 additional copies of everything. And that includes your 3 copies of Spellbook of Fate. Fate has 3 different effects based on how many spellbooks you banish with for it. So if you banish one, you get to return a spell trap or set spell trap on the field to the hand. 2, you get a Book of Moon and Monster, and then 3, you get to non-targeting, non-destruction, banish a monster off the field. Really, really good, really solid. I love Spellbook of Fate, and it did recently get a reprint, so it is fairly cheap. However, the rest of the deck is not in that same boat. So we're on 2 copies of Spellbook of the Master. Spellbook of the Master, basically, if you have a spellcaster on the board, you reveal a spellbook card in your hand, and then you banish one of your spellbook normal spells from the graveyard, and this card's name and effect become that card's name and effect. Then I'm also on 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. I tried playing 3, couldn't quite fit 3 in, but having 2 of it is still fine. Um, it's trade in. You can pitch a Spellbook card from your hand or field to the graveyard in order to draw 2 cards. You can only activate 1 knowledge per turn. A lot of these are going to be hard ones per turn. Next, we're on 2 copies of Spellbook of Eternity. I know a lot of 2 ofs, but we're about to start getting into our 1 ofs. Eternity is probably the best form of recursion we have. It grabs a Spellbook card from your banish pile back to your hand, and is just overall really good. And now we get into the important, well, not really the important ones, but like the power spells of the deck. Starting us off, obviously, with our 1 copy of Spellbook of Judgment. Judgment, if y'all don't know, this card used to be banned. It came back to 1. It's still sitting at 1, which is cool. And it's fairly cheap right now for something as powerful as it is. So what does it do? Well, you activate it, and then you have to keep track of how many spells you activate throughout the rest of your turn. But at the end of your turn, you can add spellbook spell cards with different names from your deck to your hand equal to the number of spells you activated this turn. And then you can special summon from your deck a spellcaster with a level equal to or less than the number of spell cards you activated. Then I'm also on 1 copy of Spellbook of Life. Spellbook of Life is Monster Reborn. You reveal or you banish a spellcaster from your graveyard and reveal another spellbook card in your hand to target a spellcaster in your graveyard. Special summon it and equip it with this card. That is all Book of or Spellbook of Life is. And then I'm on 1 copy of Star Hall. Star Hall is a power boost for each spell counter on it, and every time you activate a spell card, you put a spell counter on it. And then if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to add a spellcaster with a level equal to or less than the amount of counters on it from your deck to your hand. Then we're on 1 tower and 1 power. Tower is just basically a free second draw, and then whenever it's destroyed, you can special summon a spellcaster monster whose level is less than the number of spellbooks in your graveyard. And that is it for all of these spellbook cards. I know it's a lot of one-ofs, but a lot of the ones that you run at one are going to help you kind of get to game on the next turn. Now we move into the Dogmatika cards. Starting us off, we have 3 copies of Dogmatika Ecclesia. She has the effect where she cannot be destroyed by battle by monster, by battle or card effects from a monster. Or no, it's just by battle. Yeah, can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the extra deck, which is really important, especially with tier, or not tier. God, tier. I'm not worried about tier anymore. Cash, Tira. Because Tira having their end board be multiple monsters summoned from the extra deck, you can summon this in defense, and it's a wall for them to have to try and break through. And then if she's normal or special summoned, you get to add a Dogmatika card from your deck to your hand, which could be anywhere from punishment to Fleur de Lis. And speaking of which, we are on 2 copies of Dogmatika Fleur de Lis. She's basically imperm. She has a quick effect to special summon herself from the hand if a monster a monster summoned from the extra deck is on the field. And then if you already control a Dogmatika monster, you can target a monster your opponent controls and negate its effects. It's basically an imperm, but you have to already control a Dogmatika monster. But if you have Ecclesia, so if you go end phase summon Ecclesia off of Judgment, then you can grab Fleur de Lis, and that guarantees you at least a monster negate on your opponent's turn. That is it for the Dogmatika monsters we are running, because I tried fitting in like Maximus and all that other jazz. Couldn't quite get it. Then I'm on 3 copies of Nadir's Servant. This is the only Dogmatika spell I am playing. Nadir's Servant dumps an extra deck monster to the graveyard, or dumps a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then you add a Dogmatika monster with attack equal to, less than or equal to that monster's attack sent to the graveyard. And that is it, like I said, for the Dogmatika spells. And then for the last of the Dogmatika cards, we're on 3 copies of Dogmatika Punishment. I'm pretty sure you guys know Punishment. You dump a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard and target a card on the field with, or target a monster on the field with attack less than or equal to that monster's, destroy it, and then you're locked out of the extra deck. A lot of these cards lock you out of the extra deck, but that's why a lot of our cards in the extra deck are either something we're not going to summon, or if we do summon them, they actually do something to decently impact the game. Now we move into the hand traps. We're on 3 Ash, and I'm actually playing 3 Effect Veiler. Because of the fact that Effect Veiler is a spellcaster, if you need to, you can always summon it off of Judgment. And, you can use it for link material if need be. If you're running a certain synchro, you could be synchro summoning with this. And then I'm also on 2 copies of Crossout Designator and 1 copy of Called by the Grave to protect us from hand traps, because Ash Blossom does kind of hurt this deck. And now we're going to move on to the extra deck. Starting us off in the extra deck, we have 3 copies of Elder Entity Entis. Entis is obvious. You're always going to see this card in any Dogmatika list, ranging from 2 to 3. I'm playing 3 because I had the extra deck space to play 3. And it's honestly better to play it at 3. The only effect you're really going to worry about is the fact that if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to target a card on the field and destroy it. So it turns Dogmatika Punishment from a 1-for-1 into a 2-for-1. And yeah, and then we have 2 copies of Titaniclad. Titaniclad is really, really good because during the end phase, if it was sent to the graveyard that turn, you can add or special summon a Dogmatika monster from your deck or a Fallen Albaz from your deck. Obviously, we're not playing Fallen Albaz, but we'll get into that. You can summon either one of those from your deck or add them from deck to hand. And then I'm on 2 copies of Deep Sea Prima Donna. The reason why I'm playing 2 of this is because whenever it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a banish card and shuffle it into the deck. So it gives you recursion from your banish pile, and it's a pretty small body at 1500, but it deals with one of the Kashtira extract monsters because it has 0 attack. And then I'm also on 2 copies of Mariologic Aggregator. Aggregator has the effect that whenever it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a monster on the field and negate its effects. And then I'm also on 2 copies of Crowley, the first Professor. If he's link summoned, you can reveal 3 Spellbook cards with different names from your deck, and your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to your hand. And then you shuffle the rest into the deck. You can only use his effect once per turn, and then each turn, a level 5 or higher spellcaster monster can be normal summoned without tributing. We're not playing many of those. The only one we're playing is Fidelity. But Crowley is basically guaranteeing you that you get what you need when you summon him. So if you need Spellbook of Power, you literally just go, oh, summon him, reveal Blue Boy Secret's power. And then your opponent randomly picks. Then I'm also on 1 copy of Anima for removal, 1 copy of Unicorn also for removal, 1 copy of Cerberus for removal, and then 1 copy of Boral Sword for being able to push for game. Most of the time, you're not really going to be getting to Boral Sword because of being locked out of the extract, but in the games where you're not locked out of the extract, these cards would come up. And let me tell you, the ability to just grab whatever Spellbook card off of Crowley you want is so nice. Next, we're moving on to the side deck. Starting us off in the side deck, we have 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. Ignore the fact that one of them is a gold rare. I don't have 3 ultras or 3 gold rares. Nibiru, self-explanatory. Then we're also on 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, because Dark Ruler No More, again, self-explanatory. It's really good for going second. And it's actually there is a little bit to talk about. It's a spell card, so it counts towards Judgment. So if you ever have to decide this in, just know it will count towards your Spellbook of Judgment count. Same thing with Nadir Servant. Then I'm on 2 copies of Ultimate Slayer. Ultimate Slayer is so good in this deck. It dumps a monster from the extract to the graveyard to negate a monster's effects on the field. So you can always dump Entis to negate something's effects on the field, and then Entis to pop another card's effects on the field. So if you're under like this really situational kind of deal where your opponent's summoning things where you need to have multiple ways to deal with certain cards, this is your way. Then I'm on 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster because, back row decks, we don't like those here. Then I'm also on 3 copies of Evenly Matched and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. And that is it for the deck. Give me just a moment and I'll do my outro. Alright guys, I hope you did enjoy this deck profile, and if you're new to the YouTube channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm aiming for 150 subscribers before July 6th of this year, and I would really appreciate it if we got there. And without further ado, I hope to see you guys on my live stream. I'm sorry I missed a week last week. I was feeling under the weather, food poisoning. It sucks. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.